So welcome back to our final talk, and I'm really excited to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Ghislaine Boddington. Ghislaine is an amazing person and really great to end our day of talks because she's been involved in the areas we've been talking about since the early 90s. She's originally from a dance background. She's been involved in all kind of different incredible projects involving the body in virtual space in different ways. And amongst other things, she's now a technology presenter for the BBC. She does many different things. And what I thought would be really good is if Ghislaine kind of contextualized some of the things we're talking about today with the past and early multimedia experiments and projects, but also took a little look into the future of what might be to come. So on our final keynote, Ghislaine is going to connect the past up with the present. So welcome, Ghislaine.
So hello, everybody. I'm just going to put that on now. Thank you very much for inviting me to do this keynote. And I really wish I was with you today, but I've had a special family wedding this weekend, and I just couldn't not be there either. So that's when I really want my virtual and physical self to exist now. I could be in two places at once. So I'm very aware of the range of experts in this audience. It's a type of exciting environment that I love to be part of. Kind of cutting edge knowledge exchange has always been my buzz. And we all have so much to learn. So thank you, Brigitte Jürgen, for this invitation. So yes, I'm Ghislaine Boddington, and I am a researcher, presenter, a broadcaster, and a curator. My roles as a creative director of Body Data Space, BBC and other clients, and through my research and lead digital immersion in the School of Design at the University of Greenwich. And I've just got my professorship, so it's good year for me this. So I'm going to share with you today pioneering and topical references on the relationship between our physical selves and our data selves. And this is coming from long-term and ongoing research I've been doing into what I call the fast emerging internet of bodies, looking at the alive, the connected, and the collective, the virtual physical bonding of our future hybrid worlds. These thoughts of mine have evolved from lived experience to date, and they've led me to complex thinking about metamorphosis for the future, but how to also make that complex. So I'm going to show examples of the body in various relational states of play with expanded animation methodologies and technologies of today, as well as a bit of historical contexting. Whoops, sorry, as Brigitte has just explained. So let me go back again. Sorry about that. There. And the keynote will explore what kind of 5 sections with you: the live body, the telepresence body, collective body, the augmented body, and data body. And I'm looking at the negatives and positive issues of these and how this is all advancing fast. I'm looking at, with my passion for liveness, actually, for liveness and connectivity and collective features. And right at the end, I'm going to talk about new research project I'm doing and some other events that maybe we can pull you into. But firstly, about me. I'm just going to be really clear here. I'm not an animator. I'm not a coder. In fact, I'm not even a hands-on technologist. I'm a director of what we used to call intelligent stages, but today is virtual production scenarios in the studios. Collective collaborative groupings of expert creative technologists, animators and media creators, alongside the performing arts. Because I'm coming from a practice-led research background, and I studied performing arts, and my main focus is on dance and the body. So using the body without any tools attached has been a bit of an obsession for you. And I think some of you in the audience may know me and realise this. So I've got 30 years experience in these studio-based direction processes and translating these public-facing participatory experiences. Started to work with digital technologies and video in the late 80s. I've gained a lot of experience, but what I'm very interested in really is the effects of the merge of our bodies and technologies, on the effects of that on society, but also on our identity, both collectively, but also as individuals. So here we are, this slide about what we've been working on, what we've always looked at, the touch and feel and skin within the internet, within the translation across the web. I'm really interested on how we can enhance our own experiences through the technologies of the day. So, as many of you know, I never work alone. I always work in collectives, grew up in collectives, and at the moment with Body Data Space. Body Data Space was co-founded in 2005, came out of two previous collectives, Shinkansen and Future Physical. And these have led on technology convergences across Europe throughout the 90s, with many workshops with lots of different artists. So our work is based in interaction design, and we collaborate with others to create emerging digital representation and augmentations of our body, our senses and our life presence. And we've done many connected telepresence performances and virtual performances since the early 90s across the world, been Britain and all other places. So really in this context, I just want to clarify before I go on is looking at the blending, mixing and nurturing and converging of physical and virtual worlds might state that bodies have become the interface. I've always been working with research questions into academia, but these questions actually haven't changed that much, really. The 90s into today, we still are having to explore this and not just blend the presence and trust in this blended state. Now, we work with our own blended representation of self and of others to be extended, enhanced, protected, and maintained. So, through to my first section, five bodies. I've been looking a lot, many times at collective embodiment. It's something that's always fascinated me. Here we've got some very clear examples. Most people in life dance. I'm the dance side here, hypnosis, looking at the dance marathons in the 1920s, looking at rave culture, how we come together, people from all different cultures and ages and backgrounds. Joy, multi-sensory environments, because these are multi-sensory environments. They are immersion environments in many ways. Just caves were cave dwellers, and they came back from the hunt to have multi-sensory rituals take place as they return, triumph. And cathedrals are another really splendid example, which must have been quite overwhelming for the medieval public. These gigantic ways, the bells ringing, the singing happening, pouring bright gems of coming in through the stained glass windows, and the frankincense and oil all around us. So we have all had this request, this kind of innate need for full body immersion in collective groups. And maybe this need is linked to a deeper sense of being, the urge to reach beyond our mundane lives. What is clear from many people's experience is that collective embodiment enhances us. It takes us to good places, positive energy, joyfulness, and vibrancy. So my theory is really that apart from the gaming world, the rapid evolution of digital technologies into mainstream in the 90s actually forgot about the body. I was in there in the 90s, and I was constantly with others going, but what about the body? But we got obsessed with the brain connected to the net because of this unbelievable utopia of knowledge exchange that came into our hands in the mid-90s. So even the gaming world forgot about presence and co-presence, a serious miss out. This is a key to collaboration. Instead of collaboration and peace, they focused on conflict and mass killing of the body as the priority. But now we really need to look at this again. The last 20 years have brought embodied much more in debate. And no longer do we see our brains detached from our bodies, and no longer do we see technologies admitting the body or obsolete. Over 80% of our communication modes to each other are non-verbal body body language, gesture, gait, facial expression, tone of voice. And as trained as a dancer, I've always had this in mind because I've learned body intelligence, and I have a body-mind figure 8 that I work between my brain and my body at all times, which I see as needed, as utterly synchronized. It's not so often like that. This is often how it's viewed, and for me, this is total disembodiment. So looking at what is liveness. Now, in performing arts, we learn a lot about the living, breathing, sweating, gesturing body. Here we are, we need to be placed in the middle and the center of digital developments. And the key to this is the animation, the liveliness that's there. And here we are learning about sensory richness, about presence and absence, about immediacy, about intimacy, even about memory and sensual disbelief. You're always on, yeah, we're breathing. Our heartbeat and breath are even maintained while we're asleep. Really, really important part of life, the essence of what it is like, the essence of life. In the 90s, as a collective, the Canson Collective, we became fascinated with the potential evolutions that could be enabled by technology, from human to cyborg and from human to avatar. Now, this is an old slide. Most of this is now definitely possible. And we experimented with body-led interactive tools of all kinds, triggers, activators, interactors, generators. Majority of them creating sound and visuals around us. Nowadays, we look at the hypersensory body as body data space collective. And today, most of the sensory examples on this diagram are part of our daily lives. We are always transferring data to and from our bodies. And this is really quite advanced through our Fitbits, through our mobile phones, our voices, our visuals, our location, our fingerprints, our touch, our facial recognition. This is all accessed through our tools which are linked to our body today. The connected body is what we focused on in the 90s. And the late 80s, I worked with, as a dance choreographer with video artists. And I started to project remote studios next door to each other, showing each other in different dance studios. So we could see, hear, and dance with each other in different spaces. And this exchange had so many advantages. We were working on European projects, and we picked up across time and space, across the time zones. And this, which nowadays, of course, we're all using, was very definitely about being able to dance with each other at a distance this time. There was many problems. We were dealing with extensive, many other issues, as you can all imagine. But after nearly 30 years, and during the lockdown side, of course, here we are moving through some of these experiments. These are very early workshop slides, and to a fact that actually today, COVID pandemic brought right into our faces kind of a horrendous universal research for anyone working with telepresence, yeah. And we watched the same issues occur that we learned about in the midnight. The fear of facing oneself in mediated environments with others. Telepresence here, and I'm just going to flick through some images from the 90s showing collective experiments, was really about finding each other, the skin becoming the interaction canvas, connecting two or three stages for dance performances. We did from London, all over the world, Kyoto to Helsinki to Arizona, everywhere. We were working on digital intimacy, and particularly on trust, intuition, and learning how to navigate ourselves, working in virtual worlds, in virtual spaces made through telepresence, layering our skin on skin, and actually really many different ways to make the body, extend the body into these interfaces. In 1999, I curated a symposium and a workshop at Middlesex University, where I had a research fellowship at the time called Virtual Physical Bodies. And I was able to bring together a set of amazing international colleagues and now friends who are working already also with cyborg bodies, telepresence bodies, etc. And that was amazing for me because I actually felt I found connections outside the world, and I had mentoring senior people to me. But of course, we weren't the first, and I never believe I'm the first anything. But I really would like to just point out to you 2 or 3 people who are very important in this area, which used to be called performative telematics. And you'll know the name of Professor Roy Ascott, who works in this area, cybernetics and telematics. And he explored this from the beginning, network consciousness, looking at since the 60s. And actually, in 1983, he did this, which actually was about distributed leadership, actually involving artists all over the world and building a theoretical framework around interactive artworks, which has influenced most of us, even unknowingly, today. And another person that's been very important to me, Helen Sky, Company in Space. I think in the 90s, she was probably the person that has spent most time as a virtual avatar, live, real time, also in virtual spaces, yeah. And it was amazing her work, coming from a dance background too, that she was really looking at this flesh and bone and senses and perception, and how do we start to get the new geographies, the new digital maps emerging, of connectivity emerging in the late 20th century. Another amazing example is in 1980, The Hole in Space. Now, many of you know this work. Kit Galloway and Sherry Rabinovich, now called the mother of all video cats. And it was linking bigger than life displays in New York and LA with satellite, with no explanation information at all. Here I'm just going to see if I can show you a snippet of this and if this works. Yes, hopefully this will work. A little snippet.
In 1980, artists Galloway and Sherry Rabinowitz placed life-size video displays at the Century City Mall in Los Angeles and Lincoln Center in New York. They connected them using satellite, sculpting a hole in space. At first, passers weren't sure what was happening.
Are the actors? They look like
You must be not seeing it.
They're just people like you and me.
Oh my God, it looks like
Fine.
We don't know if it's your microphone.
I'll go back to the keynote, don't worry.
Do we know what's going on? Do you know what's going on?
No, not really.
They're in New York.
They're in New York. I'm in Los Angeles, right?
Are you?
Yes.
Galloway and Rabinowitz showed that
Right. Can you see my slideshow again now? And can you hear me?
Is that better audio?
And
Can you
I'm
talk?
going to do this okay until you interrupt me. Yeah?
Yeah, Ghislaine,
So-
your voice keeps on cutting out. Your voice keeps on cutting out because of the audio.
Different scenarios for Second Life projects.
So,
really.
so
It's
Ghislaine,
2000. And out of this came the idea for Me and My Shadow. And this was a piece of network collective embodiment. And actually, Brigitte, you've got a video version of this with you. So I'm going to come out of this and let you play the video that you've got on there in the space, but should be on the sound-wise.
Yeah. So Ghislaine, we're thinking we might have to cut this short because we can't really hear what you're saying, and we're wondering if you could record this for us, and we'll provide it afterwards. And we'll go into discussion after your video. So sorry about this, but we can hardly hear you, and not everybody here has English as a first language, so it's hard to understand. I thought it's the internet connection.
Right, hello.
Do you want to play her video, and then we'll
Yes.
go into Q&A? So Christoph just changed one of the parameters on Teams, so let's see if that worked.
Okay, I'm going to play the slideshow again.
Is that better for everyone? Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Yeah, that helped. That helped. So let's try to carry it. We're really loving what you're talking about. It's just the audio is slightly clipping. So try and carry it.
I'm going to you just saw Me and My Shadow, which was a work that we did in 2012, connecting 4 countries with avatars in what was a large virtual sim. So Brigitte, can you hear me okay? Is everything good?
It's better now, thank you.
Good. So another piece of quickly just to take you through a few slides is collective reality, a large sensory environment that we made to explore interaction with others. And these are works that actually were participatory, no longer doing staged works, but actually moving into the user having this sensory experience and interaction with others. This was a living, breathing space, a kind of generative machine, which was learning through motion capture, really. And it was the audience itself generated the audio visual. And the more they would play together, the more they danced together, the more they hugged each other, the more happened within this space. So it was not an observation space. In a way, it was a participation space. And it was very special in terms of intimacy, and it created a lot of good thinking around digital intimacy. We took this work to SAT in Montreal, to the Dome, which was wonderful to work with this there. And we did workshops there with actually all the coders, VR and AR coders, XR coders. It was amazing. I think about 80 different software coders came through these collective embodiment workshops, and seeing themselves what happened when they moved in space with the coding around them, and understanding the spatiality of their coding and how that can be used to create co-presence and keep the focus on the present. So now just to move on to the augmented body. The very little bit here, this is a huge section normally, but I've just cut it down today just to show you where we're going next. We've got motion capture, we've got implants, and implants are more and more in fashion. There's many more people around the world doing this. We know we've had some digital arts from Donna Haraway, from Stella, how the body and machine, how the body and data transmission start to come together. There are over 200 medical implants nowadays, actually. And when early people that worked with implants was a Professor Kevin Warwick, often in the news for linking up him and his professorial wife through implants where they were linked together and they could actually work together, open their house up, open their computers up, etc. But I think one of the really great points Kevin Warwick made also was that a person's brain and body do not have to be in the same place. And that was his ongoing work, well worth looking up. So, and plus we have a lot of younger artists looking at not necessarily implanting everything, but working with sensors on the body, looking at multiple sensors on the body, creating proprioceptive muscle movements, looking from their blood flow, body transmissions, looking at 24 hours in streams of VR, being it physically and virtually present at the same time, using the body to create animation, to expand the world around us. And proprioception is a really interesting point. Here I use a robotic example, but I'd like to move to talking about much more about the animated or the virtual or the avatar example. Our sense of proprioception is that it's a very complex connection and reflection that takes place between our body and brain. And it has, in a way, become, I believe, the extra special sense of this century, one that can actually help us, enable us enter the future that's coming. And I think we need to take more consideration of this with relationship to our data bodies. Now, the data body where most of us are working today, and in the next decade, we see massive convergences of different types of data bodies. We, in the early 2000s, were working across the EU with multiple schools and universities, many of it with girls actually of different cultural backgrounds, creating their own avatars, their own data bodies in a way. And this led us to look much deeper at data bodies in general. And in 2009, we created our own All Array. She's our data body data space collective, and she's joined us and actually joined in collaborator in installations and live performances and exhibitions. So she's wonderful, and she comes out when we need her. But I really also need to reference this back in time in history, and I won't try to play the movie, although I have got one, but with the problems we had, I'll leave it. Please look this up. On Rebecca Allen's website, she has an early video, a video of an early news interview she did with Dan Rather from CBS News, where he says, "Oh, the computers are coming. This is part 3, Man or Machine." And actually, it's an amazing bit, early motion graphics that she did with Catherine, with Twyla Tharp, and it was some of the first motion graphics, 3D computer generated human motion. We aired on television and we used live on stage. Rebecca's work, you will know, all of you, for creating the visual material for Craftwork at the Electric Cafe, particularly for music non-stop. So do check the video out. It's really interesting to see where we've got to today now. So it is clear the Internet of Bodies is evolving. The work that I've been doing on this and looking at that future immersion space of digital collective co-creation. And now today, of course, we need to add in biometric data transfer and AI, and artificial intelligence transfer coming in. So this real-time hypersensory participation, this convergence that many of you are working with, which is in the center between us and the group of people we work with, pulling into our non-verbal body behaviors, looking at the dynamics. Now, one of the things we do need to be aware of is that actually, in many ways, our work with VR and XR is the biggest pullers of biometric data in the world. We pick up multiple biosignals of the shape of the body, the rotation of the hand and the head, the position of our body, 90% accuracy. And actually, Professor Tony Bailison in Stanford Virtual Human Interactive Lab written a lot about this, very, very, very deep level. And they've done major research now with up to 50,000 people to work out. It only takes a few minutes to work out who that person is from all of the biometric information that is gathered in our environments. And as far as I'm concerned, biometric personal data, it's our data cells, yeah? It's our behavioral, attitudinal data, and I feel it should belong to me. So one of my things is advocating the ownership of our biometric data. Since the COVID pandemic, this has massively increased the gathering of data, and not even on this chart, all the things like the vaccine and the tracing, 10 times the amount of biometric data is now being gathered around the world for us, held on hundreds of data servers in big data farms, producing a lot of heat for climate change, as much as the air industry does. So this is harvested data. These are very often invisible systems, and we just don't even know when our information is being taken away from us. And who that information, who has the rights to use it, who controls the ethical use of it. Of course, majority of it is sold on from big corporate to big corporate. There's a lot of theories around this, but I've seen different indications that it's somewhere between $10,000 to $100,000 per person per year is made by the corporate from our own biometric data. We made a piece during lockdown called Donate Yourself. It's an AR work, and we looked at the donation of the body, looking at the donation of the physical body and also of the data body, looking at the biological side of this, and exploring and trying to demystify this commercial harvesting of data by corporate platforms. Complexity of this in cultural and religious scenarios is also not to be understated, to be honest. yeah. But we do know that this is collecting data, the example scenarios is incredible. And one thing we can, of course, choose to do in all projects about this, about ourselves, our body data, etc., is actually really ensure that we are exploring in our teams the ethical use of biometric data. And there is checkpoints for this, of course. There's checkpoints in academic ethics committees, etc. But often in the business world and in the small business world, often, unfortunately, the gathering of biometric data and selling it onwards is part of the investment need. Investors will only come on board if, like 3 years down the line, they're going to get all the biometric data you've gathered from your new service or product. And we need to really explore this. And I would say, this is one slide I use a lot in corporate, because I do a lot of corporate presentation too, really try to ensure the use of data, in particular personal data. Because remember, we're all participants in that. Whatever you do to other people around you, you're also doing to yourself and to your descendants, yeah. This can get worse, yeah. And can be misused, as we know. It can be misused in many ways, in data, scenarios, and with bias, yeah. So on to the last bit I want to talk about, which is a new project I'm just starting on, AI hybrid biotech. I have been working on it for a while, actually, and it's a complete extension of previous work. But this is looking at our identity and our selfhood, and it looks at the potential of this being tethered to us. So here we're going to explore in an interdisciplinary grouping, present scenario of the digital human twin within a wide range of sectors. And this is about a possible scenario where a digital companion could be tethered to you from birth, learning with you through the AI, chat, GPT, whatever, able to advise, support your education and work, keeping you healthy and able also to represent you around the world in virtual and holographic and robotic forms, even after death, yeah. And is this possible then for us to be looking at this as a potential advancement on our uniqueness and our individual agency as we enter an era of hybrid presence? Is there a possibility for us to move forward with ourselves? And we know there's a long way to go on this. We're not looking at a carbon copy of ourselves. We're looking at a virtual animated version, potentially, multiple biosignals, constantly measured and fed with real-time to your avatar body, heartbeat, breath, temperature. So, as I said, many companies are already experimenting with this, and it combines basically, I'm bringing together experts on virtual world, gaming, fitness, sensor experts, health app, AI. Esports is probably one of the most advanced in this area, as is the fashion. Looking at how we can anchor into realities and look at the ethical implications where we can all work together. So I am really interested in my data body and how this could potentially be tethered to my physical body, and in alliance with my own AI, we can operate conversations, create bonds between my multi-self, yeah, and how this can be transferable across time and space and represent me out anywhere, robotic, hologram, avatars, network me, support me within a complex weave of digital identities and process to enable me to find the best outcomes for our personal needs. Now, what I'm well aware of is this extension has a lot of negatives too. Now, we've got hacking, we've got identity theft, we've got big issues that can come around this, not just the biometrics. But I do think that this future expansion of this, such an animated collective action, do have great possibility to reshape and transform the way that we can interact in the future. And I do think that, to be honest, that the Internet of Bodies, which is more collaborative in a bio-network future, possibly we have there the chance to go beyond with our data selves into more sharing of compassion, joy, trust, empathy in the way and with whom we want to be with, and to try maybe to find some solutions through the virtual selves joining together with our physical selves to find solutions, positive solutions to real world problems today. And to be honest with me, anything which actually enables collective virtual embodiments action outside of its dominant conflict and death-obsessed gaming world of the past decades will help people. We don't want to be alone in our interactivity. We need to find ways to work together in a much more compassionate way. And we're seeing lots of advances on this, particularly in the younger generations of artists. I'm seeing amazing examples coming through. So, two little things coming up, just to say, this is the next Extended Senses and Embodying Technology Symposium and Exhibition. We did the one last year with Professor Camille Baker, who I believe has been talking today with the first input of the day today, and we worked together to co-chair this. We will be doing an open call on this early in 24. And I do take a lot of my work, as Pete said, into broadcast, and I spend a lot of time translating some of these complex into trying to help much wider audience to understand it. I do a lot of work with the BBC World Service, and I will be doing documentaries on the AI hybrid biotwin, but also for other podcasts. And this is a podcast series that's out at the moment. Search it up on any catcher. Fast forward by tomorrow I'm not. Looking at a lot of the issues I've just been talking about, and I think there will be a lot of areas that you all work in. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for Gita. And I can come back, and if there's any comments or feedback, please contact me if you'd like to be talking about any of these projects or be involved in projects on.
Thank you, Ghislaine. Unfortunately, the audio kept on cutting out, so we couldn't hear you very clearly all the way through, but your slides were great, so we were able to get the sense of it from that. I think your categories were really useful, the way you divided it up into the sensing body, the connected body, the collective body, the augmented body, and the data body, and that connects very much with what we've been talking about today. If we start with the sensing body, I mean, we've discussed haptics today, haven't we? And we've discussed exoskeletons and enforced motion. We've discussed touch. We've discussed dancing within virtual environments. Does anybody have anything they'd like to ask or discuss or just contribute about the sensing body and the senses? No. So today we were really interested in looking at motion, proprioception, you know, our sense of how you find your way around in the world, and balance, and touch. And I think Ghislaine also touched on another topic, which was the connected body. So we've seen that. I thought it was very interesting, the eye tracking project where your body is connected to the response on the screen. Does anybody have anything they want to say about everything we've discussed today? Or I think everybody's quite tired, Ghislaine.
I'm sure.
So I guess it's a very interesting point as well that you made about data and harvesting data and who owns your data and the ethics of that. We haven't really discussed ethics of data today. Does anybody want to make any comments? I think everybody's absolutely exhausted because it's really hot here. You have got a good audience, but it's quite hot here. So I guess in conclusion, we are going to ask Ghislaine if you could please record that for us, and we'll make it available on YouTube so everybody can look at all the links. But it's very interesting to see this journey about the live body and digital space, the different projects that people have done, the changes in themes you picked out in the 90s. People were very obsessed with connection and the internet and perhaps ignored presence. And maybe we're coming back a bit more to presence these days, which I thought was a very interesting point. Does anybody want to comment? Do you want to say anything, Jürgen? Shall we?
Ghislaine, it would be really nice if you could pre-record your talk and provide it to us so that we can edit the video stream, that would be lovely. It was really
It's
difficult.
never happened to me before. I do like 3 or 4 live presentations
Perfect.
a week, so
Yeah.
I don't know what's that. I can see
Yeah.
the blue line going on and off, but it's I don't know where the problem is. I really don't. I don't think it's this end because I'm doing this a lot. Yeah. But anyway, I'm really sorry. Really sorry about that. So
that's liveness. We've
That's
been
liveness,
discussing
yes, and
liveness
performance.
today,
Yeah,
and put live performance. That's what our last panel was about. So that's liveness. That's one of the features.
Yeah, but this is maybe good to point out that all the presentations are available on the Expanded Animation YouTube channel, and if we can get a better version of your presentation, then this panel will also be available soon. You also have the possibility to go into the archive and see all the presentations at the last editions, and this is, I think, a very good opportunity to find the links not only on the topic performances, but all the topics that we tackled in terms of synesthesia as well.
Okay, then, well, everybody's pretty tired and it's quite hot, so should we draw to a close?
Yes.
Definitely. So I would thank you, Ghislaine.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a very intense journey. We kicked off 3 days ago with a fantastic panel, and we tackled a lot of artistic approaches, different perspectives, and there was no time for lunchtime because we had to go to we were during lunch at Deep Space, and we saw the Golden Nico winners and live performances, drawing performances, game performances, and we had a very vivid interaction with a lot of nice disciplines like theater performance. So virtual stage was also a very interesting panel to see a lot of people in this field of acting, dance, performances as well. Today we had 3 fantastic panels on different topics on the intersection between the body and the machine. So a lot of different interactions, critical perspective as well. So we came up with a lot of questions in our call, and we think the panels and the presentations gave perfect answers to all the questions we tackled.
So thank you very much to all our presenters. Thank you for coming all this way. Thank you for staying all day and contributing. Yeah,
we already said thank you to so many people, but this is my final thank you. I would really, we have to show the team behind the event production team that is supporting us since so many days, all the preparations. So behind there are so many volunteers from the University of Applied Sciences, Upper Austria. Thank you. Without your great work, we could not do this very urgent discussion. Thank you to all.
She's gone.